Mr. Saras. Okay. Hi, good morning. Today we are going to be presenting about income disparity. So this is our group members, which is me, Abhinay Singh, that's Daniel, this is Javed, and that's Wan. Moving on. This is our table of content. We'll be going through the definition of income disparity and what income disparity is basically income inequality. Overview of the key issues, the Malaysia's current policy, the social assistance and the financial inclusive, the evaluating and the outcomes, the recommendation, and also the challenges as well. So moving on. First thing first, the definition of income inequality. Income disparity. Income disparity is basically known as income inequality, which is basically distributed like the income is unequal between individuals or household basically. Where certain individuals will be earning more income and certain individuals or household will be earning less income. So therefore we can see there are two groups over here. It's basically the income group and also the demographic group. So these are the two groups where the income will be basically like distributed like unevenly basically. For example, the income groups we know that's E20, M40 and also B40. For example, as you can see the table over here, B40 is basically the individuals that is earning about 2,500 and lesser or up to about 5,200. The M40 is basically up to 9,000 and also the T20 is basically 15,000, which is basically the people who are high levels. Therefore, the demographic group is basically where like the region, ethical group and gender. For example, like gender, male might be getting even more money than the female, despite the female even has like even more experience, but the male is always getting more money in the organization. The region or ethics group is basically like, for example, like Chinese might be getting even more income, the Indians might be getting lesser income, or the Malays might be getting even more lesser income. In the region based on the region that we are in. For example, like Selangor is basically their income rate is basically 5k. If you go to Kelantan, maybe the income rate might be about 2k or 3k basically. So moving on. The key issues that we can see over here is basically low wages. The reason why I say low wages is because like Malaysia is basically known for their manufacturing sector or their servicing sector, as you can see over here, where there are a lot of like food and beverages, there are like retail stores, is basically categorized as informal sectors. Whoever is working in this particular sector or this particular industries basically. So in this particular sector and this particular industries, the employers will basically giving the income that is like they will not be giving the certain benefits that they need like basically. For example, like let's say the food and beverages now be getting like their EPF, their SOCSO, their medical bills, like their medical leaves and stuff like that, where they'll just be working like just normal individuals basically, just a normal basic salary. That is why they are being giving these particular jobs or these particular opportunities to foreigners. Where foreigners like they don't need this thing, what the employees think is that, but when eventually they need, but they will just be working as like at this level. So that's why like we see construction sites, obviously like including beverages or retail stores, there are a lot of foreigners working, especially in Malaysia as well. So moving on, we go to wage embellishment. I'll be speaking about this later on, even more in detail, but wage embellishment basically is that their salaries will be distributed according to the expertise or according to the company that we are working in. For example, in Inti, the lecturers might be getting about 5k, but in Sunway, the same lecture or the same position would be earning about 10k to 15k. So there's an income inequality over there already. So moving on, we're going to this cost of living. The reason why I say cost of living is because like in Malaysia, or not only in Malaysia, but around the whole world also, cost of living has been increasing. For example, in Malaysia, the minimum that a particular individual or particular household should earn is about 5,566 ringgit, which is basically in order for them to cover their like their utilities, their transportations, their materials, their markets and stuff like that. Where as we seen previously, the B40 group only earning less than 2,500 or about like 4k or 5k. So that you can see that they are basically struggling in this particular area over here for them to survive. And lastly is basically underemployment and early workforce entry. The reason why I say I've been relating this towards the wage embellishment is because currently many students are leaving SPM and like they do not want to continue their studies. Why? Is because like there's a lot of expenses and like colleges are really getting expensive as well also because of their B40 group and M40 group. They can't afford, the parents can't afford their children to send to college, therefore they want to work. So the benefit side, if the students are working, is because they can get more experience and they can earn more income. Despite like us for underemployment, like let's say we graduate, our salary will be minimum 1.8 to 2. But if you go towards like one of my friends, for example, he just like after SPM he graduated, like then he started working, he's earning up to 3k, 4k already. Where I was finding for a job like last week, like the employee was offering me just like 1.5, 1.8. That's a proper office job. So yeah, that's why the unemployment rate is like basically, sorry, the underemployment is basically increasing. So this is all from my part. Now I'll be passing it towards one to talk about the policies. Thank you.
So I'll be talking about the current policy framework on income inequality. So the first policy is Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, known as SPV 2030. So It is aimed to reduce and ensure equitable wealth distribution across income group, ethnicities and regions. It is emphasized high value economic and quality education access and balanced regional growth to everyone. So the second one is the progressive wage policy that is launched as pilot 2024 that supports low and middle income workers, that also supports initiative supported by the Ministry of Human Resource as a linked wage increase to increase skill levels, encouraging upskilling based workers on skill level. The third one is the new income net, the new economy policy known as NEP, that continues to guide Malaysia's effort in reducing poverty and restructuring society. This is main goal is to help people from all races to earn better income and reduce link between races. And the last one is 12 Malaysian Plan that has implemented from 2021 to 2025 that strengthened the motto of Keluarga Malaysia agenda, which bring in all races from all different groups together and reduce income gap among B40, M40 and T20. So next. So for social assistance and financial inclusion, first, the cash transfer scheme. So cash transfer scheme, firstly is DSH, known as Bantuan Sara Hidup. Secondly is BPR, Bantuan Prihatin Rakyat, and third is STR, known as Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah. This program deliver direct financial aid to the B40 household, helping them meet daily needs and improve living standards. So in 2024, the government has allocated 10 billion ringgit that has benefited 8.4 million recipients nationwide. This has reduced short-term income inequality and improved consumption stability. So for the housing, government has introduced Prima and PPR as a low-income household, aim to expand home ownership among low-income Malaysians, so everyone can own a home with low prices. So government also has introduced a entrepreneurship and skills training such as TVET Malaysia, My Digital, where government help all the small businesses to go to digitalization, and SME grants for income mobility. Next. So the effectiveness and outcomes of Malaysia inequality policies. First, the income distribution in 2020, where T20 has managed 47.2% of total income, and in 2022, it has reduced to 46.3% of the total income. For M40, from 36.9% has increased to 37.6%, and the most important is the B40, from 15.9% to 16.1%. So for all the policies, the SPV, the outcome of the SPV is moderate, and structural inclusion goals, they have implemented that. For the cash aid, it is help on short-term poverty relief, and the effectiveness is very, very high. And progressive wage policy, the outcome is wage growth incentive that is quite promising. And for the TVET and SME grants and for the training, it has upgraded all the skills in Malaysian, and the effectiveness is quite moderate. So Malaysian policies are effective in short-term redistribution, but structural inequality remains. So sustainable equality requires progressive wage growth, tax reform, and education quality improvements. So it is only effective on the short term, not on the long term. Thank you. I will pass to Edward?
Yeah, thank you. So for my part, I will keep it short and simple. My part is recommendation of improvement economic policy for cash transfer scheme. Example, Philippines adopt a dynamic social register using real-time income and employment data to update digital faster. Transition to condition cash transfer linked to school attendance, health checkup, or skill upgrading, or include vulnerable groups, elderly, single partner, informal sector worker, more comprehensive. Now for the RIMA and PPR project for low-income family, example Singapore, mandate mixed income housing quotas in all new developments, promote rent-to-own model with flexible finance for the B40, and leverage green building incentive to reduce long-term living costs, utilize application and monitoring to prevent misallocation or corruption. For the SME grants and entrepreneurship training, Philippines and United Kingdom practice this. Simplify access to microcredits with lower collateral for youth and women entrepreneurs. Introduce monitoring ecosystem pairing SME with large corporation. Encourage social enterprise that address local community issues while generating profits. And expand export trading and e-commerce support for small businesses. For the progressive wages, policy linked wages to skill and productivity, Japan and South Korea expand coverage beyond pilot sector to include former and gig workers, incentive employer with tax deduction or grant for which increase tied to verified productivity gains. Mandatory transfer wage reporting by a large firm to monitoring income gaps, and enhance environment through digital wage tracking system to ensure fair pay compliance. And the SPW 2030 aim for a balanced region growth. Example, China and Singapore establish a region innovative hub, decentralized federal development fund to empower state level incentive, and strengthen rural internet and transport connectivity to attract private investment. And now for the recommended for new new economic policy that we can learn from South Korea and United Kingdom is strengthen progressive taxation, making it more progressive and harder to dodge. Tackle avoidance, loopholes, corporation, cross-border, and household trips. And for the Philippines and Finland, they are using expand wealth against social transfer or robust social protection, guarantee minimum income, condition cash transfer, target subsidized, short responsive transfer, social insurance top-ups, variation and complementary service. And for the Hong Kong, they're using shift tax burden towards immobile wealth. Inequality is self-reform across generation, public full LTV, speed rate property tax, improve existing recurrent property tax. The government can finance infrastructure without overburden mobile capital. For the last one is the Germany, they strengthen labor market institution, guarantee of 4 that keep full-time workers out of poverty while sustain competitiveness, giving workers a voice in which setting, working condition and social protection. Yeah. Now for my next part is I leave it to Derek.
So for my part is about the limitation and assumption section, which is the challenges of Malaysia's current policy. So first for the SPP 30, one of the challenges is uneven regional progress, where Sabah and Sarawak are still lacking in various aspects, which is the income, infrastructure and internet access, so indicating that there is a persistent regional disparities. And according to Prime Minister, Sabah and Sarawak will receive 6.9 billion and 6 billion respectively under the new budget for 2026, which the highest ever fund given to both of the Borneo state. So which shows that there is the lacking in some of these areas. So which the main purpose for this is to close the gap between the two Borneo state and the Peninsula Malaysia. Next, for the cash transfer scheme, the challenge is that it does not provide a long-term solution. It just provides a short-term relief. So it does not address the root cause of inequality, such as the low wages and limited job opportunities, and as well as the issue in targeting inefficiency, where sometimes the data given or received it will lead to the ineligible recipient getting the benefit instead of those who really deserve the benefit. So there will be an inclusion and exclusion error. And next, for the 12th Malaysia Plan, in terms of the digital, so it is a limited digital readiness. So many P40 and rural citizens lack digital access or skills, so which will reduce their participation in the digital economy. And the Ministry of Education has even acknowledged that rural students are at a disadvantage compared to the urban classmates, since they have less access to acquire digital skills. And next, for the progressive wage policy, there will be a resistance from the employers, especially the employers might resist or against the idea of giving this new implementation, especially the small and medium enterprises who is operating on a thin profit margin. And according to a poll conducted by the IBF, Malaysian Employees Federation, 67.2% of the participating companies are not prepared to implement this new strategy, which is the raise from the previous figure of 1,200 minimum. And for the affordable housing, such as the Prima project, some of the issue is the project delays. So many of the Prima project face slow delivery, mismanagement, and lack of demand due to location or poor quality. And according to the Johor Bahru Member of Parliament, Sabah has 5 abandoned Prima projects, Melaka S3, Selangor, Penang, Pahang, Negeri Sembilan, Kedah, and Kelantan each have 2 projects. And out of the 22 projects, 13 were abandoned. And for the last one, entrepreneurship and skills training. So this might not reach the intended audience, or the audience do not have the awareness, or because of this there's a limited reach to them, so many of the citizens are unaware or unable to access this opportunity. Last one is the challenges of on the economic policies. So first, in terms of the strengthening progressive taxation, so this policy still will cause some issue, which is towards the rich or wealthy people. So they will cause a tax avoidance or evasion. So in order to avoid paying the fair share of the taxes, the thousands of the richest billionaires in the world regularly use the shell corporations or finding a legal loopholes to avoid paying their full amount of tax. And next, for the strengthening social safety nets, so there will be a fiscal burden. So sustaining a large-scale transfer programs could sustain Malaysia's budget, especially amid fiscal consolidation pressures. And the same challenge with cash transfer scheme, where it is targeting inaccuracy. So incomplete household data, especially informal or rural workers, will risk inclusion and exclusion errors. And next, for the shift tax burden toward the immobile wealth, they will face a resistance for the wealthy people as well. So wealthy or property owners might oppose paying a higher amount of taxes, and they will view the tax as like a punishment for them for buying expensive houses. And lastly, for the International Labour Organization, they will face employee resistance again. So some businesses may avoid formal employment, or they might shift to automation, especially the production community or factory. So they will prefer to having a machine to operate them instead of hiring workers. So they will only have to pay for maintenance fee, like for example. Next. Okay, so in conclusion, Malaysia has made steady progress in reducing income inequality through all of these initiatives. However, challenges like regional disparities, limited wage growth, and targeting inefficiency remain. So, to achieve long-term equality, Malaysia must strengthen policy implementation, promote inclusive economic participation, and invest in education and digital access as well to ensure sustainable and equitable growth for all the citizens. Thank you. So, here's the reference of our board.